The March 12th, 2019 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Alcoffer. Here. Mr. Ansella. Here. Mr. Ross. Here. Mrs. Boyce. Here. Mr. Brew. Here. President Carbone.
Here.
Mrs. Conley. Here. Mr. Delahanty. Here. Mrs. DeFlorio. Here. Mrs. Draw. Here. Mr. Felder. Here. Mr. Flagler Mitchell. Ms. Harris. Here. Mr. Hebert is excused. Mr. Howland. Here. Ms. Cayley. Here. Mr. Lightfoot. Here. Mr. Mafucci. Here. Mr. Marinetti. Here. Mr. Michike. Mr. Morelli. Here. Mr. Moyo. Here. Mr. Rockow. Here. Mr. Shepard. Here. Ms. Taylor is excused. Mr. Terp. Here. Mr. Wilcox. Here. Mr. Wilt. Here. Mr. Zale. Here.
Please stay seated. I'd like to introduce Lyle Hegemeyer, Director of Adult Ministries at Faith Lutheran Church, who's been invited by Vice President Debbie Draw to lead us in a moment of prayer.
We pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow and nurture the bonds of community. Give us wisdom, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect the residents and businesses of our county. Help each of us to be open to the ideas and beliefs of others and respectful of our differences. Assist us to work together, finding common ground and shared purpose in doing that which is best for everyone in Monroe County. And continue to remind us that all that we do here today is for your glory and for the service of humanity. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Director. Please stand as Legislator Alcoffer will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Legislator? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I ask you to remain standing. Without objection, we'll take agenda item number 38 out of the regular agenda order. Agenda item number 38 is moved by Legislator Marinetti and seconded by Legislator Cayley. Will the clerk please read the resolution in memoriam for David Richards, employee of Monroe County Office of Emergency Management?
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of David Richards, employee of the Monroe County Office of Emergency Management. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of David Richards, employee of the Monroe County Office of Emergency Management. And whereas David passed away on February 24th, 2019 at the age of 78. And whereas David was born November 12th, 1940 to Michael and Emily Richards. He began working for Monroe County Office of Emergency Management in 2004. David served his community throughout his life, being an emergency planning technician, the former chief of the Gates Fire Department, the current chief of the Clifton Fire Department, and an emergency medical service paramedic for Gates, Chili, and Monroe Ambulance. And whereas David was also a small business owner, operating coiffeurs by David for 37 years. David was known for his passion for collecting and repairing clocks. And whereas David was predeceased by his wife or by his parents, Michael and Emily, and survived by his wife of 52 years, Judy, daughters Tracy Helgert and Michelle Popowitz, grandchildren Ty, Jackson, Jared, Jordan, Antonio, Olivia, and Stephen, and brothers Michael and Bob. And whereas David's sense of service and helping others, as well as his positive attitude, will be remembered by all who knew him, including friends, relatives, and the whole Monroe County family. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby directed to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously, with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Please stay standing. Without objection, we'll take agenda item number 39 out of the regular agenda order. Agenda item number 39 is moved by Legislator Marionetti, seconded by Legislator Cayley. Will the clerk please read the resolution in memoriam for Alexander J. Eady, Jr., former Monroe County legislator?
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Alexander J. Eady, Jr., former Monroe County legislator. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of Alexander J. Buck Eady, Jr., and whereas Alexander Eady passed away February 25, 2019, at the age of 77, and whereas Alexander was born October 13, 1941, and was a lifelong resident of Monroe County. Alexander served as a legislator for District 3 in the Monroe County Legislature, representing his hometown of Chili from 1980 to 1984. And whereas Alexander dedicated his life to serving his community through being a firefighter with the Riverdale Fire Department in Chili, working for Rochester Gas and Electric, and serving in the county legislature. And whereas Alexander is survived by his wife of 57 years, Mary Eady, his children, Mary, Robert, and Alexander Eady, his sisters, Phyllis Van Duzer, Doreen Lee, and Thelma Luke, and brother, Ted Eady. His grandchildren, Larry, Sarah, Colt, Alex IV, and Hannah. 5 great-grandchildren, Aunt Lorraine Capolino, and several nieces and nephews. Alex was predeceased by his son, Andrew Eady, and brother, Ben Eady. And whereas Alexander will be remembered for his kindness and community service, he will be missed by all who knew and loved him. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby directed to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously, with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Without objection, we'll take agenda item number 40 out of the regular agenda order. Agenda item number 40 is moved by Legislator Marionetti, seconded by Legislator Cayley. Will the clerk please read the resolution in memoriam for Stephen Randall Gordon Walker, brother of Monroe County Legislature Minority Leader Cynthia W. Cayley?
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Stephen Randall Gordon Walker, brother of Monroe County Legislature Minority Leader Cynthia W. Cayley. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of Stephen Randall Gordon Walker, brother of Monroe County Legislature Minority Leader Cynthia Cayley. And whereas Stephen passed away on March 3, 2019, at the age of 70. And whereas Stephen was born on February 21, 1949, to Helen and Harrison Walker. He was one of 3 siblings, with sisters Melinda and Cynthia. Stephen married his wife Nancy, with whom he had sons Keith and Kirk, daughter Carrie, and canine companion Ruger. And whereas Stephen worked at Davy Tree Service before moving to Eastman Kodak, where he worked until his retirement, he could almost always be found hunting or fishing with his signature black cowboy hat, was a lover of the outdoors, and thoroughly enjoyed trading stories with friends and family over a cup of coffee. And whereas Stephen was a hard worker who was generous to all who had the good fortune of meeting him, he was one of the most loving individuals someone could ever meet. Stephen's imagination was indicative of just how wonderful his mind was. He served as an inspiration to his sisters in their formative years, as his many talents motivated them all to be better people. And whereas Stephen is predeceased by his parents, Helen and Harrison Walker, and sister Melinda, and is survived by his wife Nancy, sons Keith and Kirk, daughter Carrie, 8 grandchildren, sister Cynthia Cayley, father-in-law Wallace Hurlbut, Aunt Norma McClernand, and many nieces and nephews. And whereas Stephen will be remembered for his loving personality, he was caring and well-liked by all he encountered, and will be missed by all who knew and loved him. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously, with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Without objection, we will take agenda item number 41 out of the regular agenda order. Agenda item number 41 is moved by legislator Marionetti, seconded by legislator Kaley. Will the clerk please read the resolution in memoriam for Bruce T. Allen, father-in-law of Monroe County legislator Joshua Baroff.
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Bruce T. Allen, father-in-law of Monroe County legislator Joshua Baroff. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of Bruce T. Allen, father-in-law of Monroe County legislator Joshua Baroff. And whereas Bruce passed away on March 5, 2019 at the age of 81. And whereas Bruce was born on January 27, 1938 in Oak Park, Illinois to William H. Allen, Jr. and Harriet I. Allen. He was one of two children with brother Robert. Bruce married his wife Virginia, with whom he had daughters Elizabeth and Catherine. And whereas Bruce had a Ph.D. in economics from Cornell University and was a professor of economics at Michigan State University, where he taught applied macroeconomics to both undergraduates and MBA students, and was especially proud to have taught in the executive MBA program for 38 years. His research as a scholar focused on the issues of competition, public policy, and managerial economics. And whereas Bruce loved music and sang in his church's choir for over 40 years and the Michigan State University Choral Union for more than 25 years and was an enthusiastic supporter of the Lansing Symphony Orchestra. He also loved trains and railroads, watching them as often as he could and taking pride in his Burlington Northern Railway model train. And whereas Bruce is predeceased by his parents, William and Harriet, and survived by his wife, Virginia P. Allen, daughters, Elizabeth R. Allen and Catherine G. Baroff, grandchildren, Anastasia K. Baroff and Xavier G. Baroff, and brother, Robert P. Allen. And whereas Bruce will be remembered for his loving personality, he was caring and well-liked by all who he encountered and will be missed by all who knew and loved him. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously, with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Thank you. Please be seated. Your copy of the Journal of Day 2, February 12, 2019 is available on your tablet. Without exception, the Journal will stand approved as submitted. On behalf of the entire legislature, I'd like to congratulate Legislator Mike Zale and his wife Kristen on the birth of their fourth son, Leo. Please join me in congratulating the Zales on the new addition to their family. There's a hearing loop in place tonight to assist those who are hearing impaired. Anyone requiring assistance should inquire in the clerk's office.
If you have a cellular phone, pager, or other electronic device in your possession, I would request that you make it inaudible for the duration of the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation.
Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on your tablet as well as online. There are several proclamations scheduled this evening. Mr. Clerk.
Will Kristen Mathis please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone, Legislator Frank Alcoffer, and County Executive Cheryl D'Onofrio.
Whereas organizations in our community like Home Start Hope help make Monroe County a great place for families, no matter their situation. Home Start Hope is a volunteer organization that has spent nearly a decade helping more than 300 women and their children on their path to independent living. These families have been able to rely on Home Start Hope for assistance as they transition to a new chapter of life. And whereas Home Start Hope was formed in 2010 and has helped many women to get back on their feet. No matter their situation, Home Start Hope helps all women, and many who are veterans, domestic abuse survivors, or recovering addicts have found a safe haven in their organization. They provide the supplies, support, and hope women need to transition into independent housing. And whereas when women arrive to Home Start Hope, they are immediately connected with volunteers who help them select household essentials free of charge. These essentials can include new linens, dishes, and pillows, and represent the first step towards rebuilding their lives. By spreading awareness and securing support from our generous community, Home Start Hope is able to hold successful fundraisers and events that support their mission to serve as many women and children as possible. And whereas Monroe County is fortunate to be home of an organization that is making a difference for those who are taking the first steps of starting over. The hard work and generous spirit of Home Start Hope has improved outcomes for hundreds of women and children who are now back on their feet. Now, therefore, we, Cheryl Donalfo, County Executive, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, and Frank Alcoffer, Legislator, District 4, on behalf of the residents of Monroe County, do hereby recognize and congratulate Home Start Hope for its dedication to helping women and children in our community.
I'd just like to say thank you. We're honored to accept this proclamation tonight, so we appreciate it. Thank you.
Would members of the Pittsburgh Panthers ice hockey team please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone, Legislator Howard Mafucci, and Legislator Carla Boyce. What's up? Yeah. Whereas it is a sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate achievements across Monroe County, and whereas, attendant to such concern and in full accord with longstanding tradition, these legislators are justly proud to honor the Pittsburgh Panthers ice hockey team on their recent Class A Section 5 championship. And whereas, continuing the proud tradition of winning hockey, this year's team, coached by Steve Thering, was able to write its own memorable chapter to the celebrated history of Pittsburgh Panther hockey. Captains Hayden Feck, Brendan Hames, and Zach Quinton led the team to its 13th Section 5 title in program history and third championship in the past 4 years. And whereas, despite a lower tournament seeding, Pittsburgh won games against Geneva, Victor, and McQuaid before defeating Fairport in an exciting double overtime championship game with the game-winning goal scored by 8th grader Brian Judge. And whereas, as important as their on-ice success is, the hockey program held its 10th annual Pink the Rink game to raise money for Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester. Over those 10 years, the games have raised over $60,000 while also excelling in the classroom and serving the community in other important ways. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, Howard Mafucci, District 10, and Carla Boyce, Legislator, District 5, do hereby honor the Pittsburgh Panther ice hockey team on this 12th day of March, 2019.
I'd just like to thank you for recognizing us tonight. It means a lot. They put a lot of hard work into both the team on the ice and in the community, and I just want to thank everyone for recognizing them tonight. Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, right up.
Would members of the Pittsburgh Sutherland girls indoor indoor track and field team please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone, Legislator Howard Mafucci, and Legislator Carla Boyce. Whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate achievement across Monroe County, and whereas attendant to such concern and in full accord with longstanding tradition, these legislators are justly proud to honor the Pittsford Sutherland girls indoor track and field team on winning its Section 5 Class B championship this year. And whereas putting in an exemplary team effort this year, team coached by Jim Vanderhoof had top finishers in 10 out of 17 events. Senior Rebecca Priesner was the sectional champion in the 1,500-meter run and the 4x200-meter relay, also won the sectional championship. The relay included seniors Adeline Ivy, junior Riley Dills, senior Grace Ebner, and junior Maya Prosser. Whereas captains Riley Dills, Adeline Ivy, Margaret Moulton, and Rebecca Priesner led the team to this championship that was well-deserved through the hard work and dedication to practice, underclass members of the team hope to continue its success in the future. And whereas, as important as their athletic success is, these young women also continue the Sutherland High School tradition of excelling in the classroom and serving the community in important ways. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, Howard Mafucci, Legislator District 10, and Carla Boyce, Legislator District 5, do hereby honor the Pittsford Sutherland girls indoor track and field team on this 12th day of March, 2019.
Thank you. Our coach wasn't able to make it, but he says thank you.
Would members of the Pittsford Alpine boys and girls ski teams please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone, Legislator Howard Mafucci, and Legislator Carla Boyce. Whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate achievement across Monroe County, and whereas attendant to such concern and in full accord with longstanding tradition, these legislators are justly proud to honor the Pittsford Alpine boys and girls ski teams, and whereas coached by Brendan Mosk, both teams built upon foundations of previous success. The boys team won its 5th consecutive Section 5 title. They then competed against 8 teams for the state championship, where they came away champions for the 2nd straight year. And whereas, captained by Zane Graham and Colin Smith, the team also included Owen August and Billy Broyokos. Zane Graham was selected as the boys' All-Greater Rochester Alpine Skier of the Year. And whereas, the girls' team also continued its winning tradition by capturing a 2nd consecutive Section 5 title. They also advanced to the New York State Championship, where they placed 2nd. Shannon Hughes finished as the sectional champion in Giant Slalom and as the all-around sectional girls Alpine champion. And whereas, captained by Sophie Brown and Abby Hopfinger, this team also included Shannon Hughes, who was selected as the girls' All-Greater Rochester Alpine Skier of the Year. And whereas, as important as their awards and success on the slopes are, these young men and women also continue the Pittsford tradition of excelling in the classroom and displaying positive leadership in the community. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, Howard Mafucci, Legislator District 10, and Carla Boyce, Legislator District 5, do hereby honor the Pittsford boys and girls Alpine ski teams on this 12th day of March, 2019.
Thank you for taking the time to honor us. These kids work really hard and they deserve it. Good guys up this way.
There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold a public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mr. Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature, and kindly conclude your remarks when the timer sounds and exit through the rear of the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. Our first 3 speakers will be Lexi Popovich, Elizabeth McGregor, and Bill Herberly.
I want to thank the legislature for allowing me to speak tonight. I will be discussing evidence-based tobacco control policies and the local impact of the e-cigarette epidemic. The World Health Organization states that teens who use nicotine products are 4 times more likely to use alcohol, 8 times more likely to use marijuana, and 22 times more likely to use cocaine. Nicotine users are also 2 times more likely than non-smokers to relapse after battling a substance use disorder. Local PTAs, community organizations, drug-free coalitions, school administrators, and other stakeholders around Monroe County have voiced their continued support for potential local legislation that supports protecting youth from nicotine and tobacco products. E-cigarettes have become rampant throughout our schools, and many of the local youth risk behavior survey reports have concluded that these rates have increased dramatically in the past year. With federal health agencies, New York State lawmakers, and Governor Cuomo working to battle the e-cigarette epidemic, there are local opportunities to learn from other counties, towns, and villages across the state who have implemented health-related policies that protect youth and young adults from e-cigarettes and tobacco. Locally, the town of Brighton and the town of Perrington have zoning policies that zone either vape or tobacco retailers to certain areas, and these policies usually keep these zones further away from schools, and they also limit the amount of retailers in the town. Currently, there are 35 vape shops in the county and 643 tobacco retailers. 509 of these tobacco retailers reside in the city of Rochester. These retailers have proliferated our communities and neighborhoods, especially in areas where they increase the already prevalent health disparities. Evidence shows that comprehensive tobacco control policies that limit the density of tobacco retailers in a given area and prevent retailers from operating near schools is instrumental in lowering accessibility, acceptability, and initiation of nicotine use among youth. Especially concerning is the New York State data that just was released. From 2000 to 2018, the cigarette smoking rate among high school youth declined by 82%. But in the past year, this number has increased for the first time in 18 years, taking the youth combustible cigarette smoking rate from 4.3 to 4.8%. This is due to dual usage of both nicotine-containing e-cigarettes and combustible cigarettes. From 2014 to 2018, the rate of e-cigarette use by New York high schoolers has increased 160%. Local advocacy is imperative to help protect our youth from entering and also continuing down a path toward addiction, as evidence has shown local and county-wide tobacco control policies work. I hope we can come together as a community and promote health policies that improve the livelihood of our young adults. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Liz McGregor. I am an independent speech-language pathologist. I would like to thank you for listening to all of us who have been advocating for the early intervention program for the past few months. To the legislators who signed and submitted memorializing Resolution 18-0379, thank you. To the legislators who attended our roundtable discussion on January 31st, thank you. Unfortunately, we still have a long way to go in order to reform the early intervention program. Tonight, there are over 195 children sitting on Monroe County's capacity list, waiting for services to start. That number has increased by 47 children since we were here last month. To be clear, all 195 children have been evaluated and were found eligible for services. But therapy hasn't started for those children because there are not enough therapists in this county to provide the services. As a reminder, there are not enough therapists because the reimbursement rate is grossly inadequate. Hopefully, you are asking yourselves what you can do about that. At the county level, you can provide funding to the Monroe County Early Intervention Program to hire more service coordinators, not temporary clerks. And you can educate and encourage your colleagues in Albany to make EI reform a top priority. You can also vote in favor of the 15% rate increase for preschool special education providers and ensure that independent providers get the same rate as agency providers. You are here tonight because we, the people of Monroe County, voted for you. It is your job to work together in the best interest of your constituents. I ask you to join forces as legislators and with us to reform the early intervention program. I encourage you to spend a day with a provider, and better yet, with a family with special needs children. Ask questions, be informed, get involved. Your job is not done. The crisis continues. It is very simple. Our children need hope, and it is your responsibility as elected officials to provide it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is William Heberly. My family and I run and operate Heberly Riding Stables in the town of Brighton. I'm here tonight to try and make you aware that Monroe County or Monroe County Parks Department is trying to create a contract for exclusive rights to the bridle trails in Ellison Park. I believe this has been sent to us or anybody else that is interested in this without prior presentation to the legislation. For 90 plus years, the bridle trails have been public bridle trails in Ellison Park. Anyone with a horse or a trailer is welcome to use them. Heberly Stables property is adjacent to Ellison Park, and for 90 years, we've been providing horse rental to the general public, whether it be carriage rides, trail rides, sleigh rides, and hay rides. Heberly Stables, we've provided all the insurance documents that Monroe County requires, which is no easy task, to the county so the public can rent the horses to go through the park. I believe our commitment to the public speaks for itself 90 plus years. We have done all this and all this time without the need of a 30-plus page contract or RPF. My great-grandfather, grandfather, and father knew Mr. Ellison, did business with him, and rode horses together with him. It's always been our understanding, by word of mouth passed down through generations, that Mr. Ellison wanted the trails to always be in Ellison Park. By the county ramrodding this contract through in a period of only 30 days, I feel it puts an end to public bridle trails and creates only a private bridle trail, no longer open to everybody. We're the last place where people can go and come and rent a horse and a guide to go through the park. We've been an enjoyed experience for over the last 90 years. In closing, I feel the RPF contract should not be allowed and is not needed. 90 plus years proves that. Or the public should be made aware of this before it goes any farther. Thank you for your time.
Our next three speakers are Jonathan Dahlhoff, Karen Spaughton, and Ellen Mancuso.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Dahlhock. First of all, I want to thank Lachey. First, I planned to tell the interpreters not to voice this, but after speaking with her, it seemed like... So, February 23rd, Do you guys remember? The governor came, and Representative Morrell. Downvote, and Mayor Warren, they came to speak on February 23rd. Remember that date. Guess what? There was no captions on that event. It was an emergency announcement, but there were no captions for that. I feel that is unfair. So, honestly, it made me angry. So that's why I spoke with Lachey. I wanted to write some sort of a law, some sort of a proclamation, something about this issue. So I want that taken care of from now on. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Karen Spotton. Tonight, I would like to acknowledge and thank County Executive Cheryl D'Onofrio for her proposal and the County Legislature for their support of a 15% increase in reimbursement for related services in preschool special education. As the former preschool chairperson of the Rochester City School District, I personally observed the bleeding of providers as individuals left to work in schools and hospitals and agencies, and these agencies were unable to find suitable applicants due to extremely low rates. I am positive that all service providers and advocates for children with disabilities 3 to 5 applaud this increase that will now assist agencies to retain and even entice individuals to work in this field. Although this is a remarkable proposal, I want to remind everyone in this room, since rates have not increased for over 10 years, there is documentation from Children's Agenda that the gap in reimbursement is actually 30%. Therefore, I would strongly encourage all members of this legislature to support the increase for not only the 19 and 20 Monroe County budget, but also in future years to continue to close this gap. Lastly, I would like to state that there is still work to do to push the state of New York, who has not increased their reimbursement rates for birth to 3 or 3 to 5 for classrooms and evaluations in the last 10 years. And we need to help, and we need to push them to step up to the plate for children, not only in Monroe County, but I would like to see Monroe County lead the charge to get state government to financially support all children with birth to 5 disabilities. There are many of us in this room here who would work with you toward that effort. Once again, thank you for your support. This means a lot to families and the dedicated professionals in children's services.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ellie Mancuso. I'm a retired faculty member from MCC. On November 14th, 2018, the faculty at MCC voted no confidence in President Ann Kress. The resolution contained 68 points, which was compiled by our Faculty Senate, which is our academic governing body, and by the Faculty Association, which is our union. The news coverage indicated that we were unhappy with the president because of an unresolved contract, when in reality only one of the 68 points had anything to do with the unresolved issue. If you were to look up the resolutions online, you would find an appendix that lists all the appropriate documentation. The resolutions quote sections of our faculty contract and sections of our Faculty Council of Community Colleges, which is a state-mandated organization. When I refer to the FA, it is our faculty union, and FCC is the Faculty Council of Community Colleges. When I refer to the CEO, it is our president, Ann Kress. I will begin with point 1. Failure of the CEO to demonstrate minimal efficiency and effectiveness in the negotiation of the past 3 successive labor contracts with the Faculty Association. In her first 3 contract negotiation cycles with the FA, the CEO has had to resort to taxpayer-funded mediation due to the lack of preparation, diligence, and unwillingness to engage in direct dialogue. Number 2, the CEO's attempt to influence, in clear bad faith, a campus evaluation by the FCCC by reporting to the president of the FCCC that no vote of confidence had been taken when in fact there wasn't even one being considered by the Faculty Senate. The CEO made no attempt to contact the Faculty Senate for clarification prior to contacting the president of the FCCC. As you can see, I am at point 2, so this will be continued. Thank you for your time.
Our next 3 speakers are Donald Adams, Brittany Jensick, and Jamie Edwards.
Good evening. My name is Donald Adams. I'm one of the leaders of Rochester Homeless Union. Here we are again, coming here asking for help. We have 2 bills, one in the Senate, one in the Assembly. The bill AO 2455 is to lower sanctions or get rid of sanctions. The bill AO 1620 is for rent stabilization. Homelessness is killing us here in Rochester. As lawmakers, again, it's your job. Y'all asked us to lower it down, so we're coming to y'all for help. We went to the county that had a meeting with us. We had a meeting. We're supposed to have another meeting in January, the end of January. No show. You are lawmakers. Shame on y'all. We come here and we keep asking you for help. But I promise you this. I'm going to meet you at the polls, and the homelessness is going to turn Rochester upside down.
Good evening. My name is Brittany Jensick. This is the 7th or 8th legislature meeting that I've attended, and I've spoken at several as well. By now, many of you know that the crisis and early intervention is extremely personal to me. I have 21 children. 14 of my children have special needs, and we have utilized the services of early intervention for 16 plus years. The problems in EI are complex. We know that, so we invited politicians from both sides of the aisle to join us for a very informal informational meeting. Thank you to those who attended. I found it very helpful to hear your questions and your comments, to have discussion with you. This community really appreciates your support. When my daughter turned 18, she excitedly registered to vote. She recently received a letter from our legislator. It said, and I quote, "I pride myself on always being accessible to you and listening to your concerns." Do you know what my daughter's first response was? Sadly, she laughed, because not only has she reached out to this legislator with concerns, only to receive a boilerplate form letter in response, but she also knew this legislator was invited to our informational meeting and chose not to show up. We've heard over and over again that there's an $11.6 million surplus. You explained to my daughter, to your voters, and to the families of the 195 children currently on the wait list for services. You explained why you're unwilling to reappropriate some of those funds to bridge the gap. We appreciate the legislation that was announced today to increase the preschool reimbursement rates, but this won't address the crisis in EI. It's a conscious choice for some of our legislators to make this political rather than about the children. The sea of pink out there know that, and your voters know that as well. We also know who listens to their constituents, and we thank you. You'll notice tonight that there are several other folks wearing pink shirts. We are here to support them, and they are here to support us, because it's really about the same thing. You are our elected officials, and you have a responsibility, an obligation to serve your community, and especially to protect its most vulnerable members. In closing, passive aggressiveness is often explained as avoiding direct and clear communication, evading problems, making excuses, blaming others, obstructionism, playing the victim, and feigning compliance. This certainly applies to some of the legislators here tonight, but let me be clear. The result of this passive aggressiveness is that 195 children in your county are not receiving early intervention services. What is happening is not just passive aggressiveness, it's illegal. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jamie Edwards. I'm a pediatric speech-language pathologist. I'm also a supervisor and supervise SLPs and special education teacher as well, working in the early intervention program. This is probably my 7th meeting speaking. I also went to Albany in February as part of the Children's Agenda Advocacy Day, and I spoke to Harry Bronson regarding the EI crisis. The waiting list for EI services has increased from 13 children last January to 133 this January, and now it's at 195. I saw Cheryl Donalfo's post on social media about her trip to Albany yesterday, and I understand that the EI crisis and the early intervention reimbursement rates are at the top of her list. I also understand legislation has been submitted to the Monroe County Legislature to increase all county set reimbursement rates for preschool special education and calling on the state to match that 15% increase. Thank you. We need to invest now so we don't have to invest later. There seems to be a trend in our county where changes are made in a reactive way. We need to be proactive. We cannot wait for a child's life to be at risk. We live so close to strong. We have many babies being discharged from the NICU. They are in dire need of feeding services. The waiting list is not based on severity of need. These babies do not get priority. Last month, I told you about a child I evaluated, a 2-year-old spinning in circles, peeling and eating paint off of his wall. I did refer him to Strong Developmental Behavioral Services, formerly known as Kirsch. But he's also on the waiting list for speech services, occupational therapy services, and special education services. Recently, I evaluated another 2-year-old who, according to his mother, gags himself and makes himself vomit after he eats to indicate that he wants to get out of his high chair. He needs speech services. He's also on the waiting list. At every evaluation I do, the service coordinator says the same thing. The county is responsible for finding you a provider within 30 days, but at this time there's a shortage and your child is going on a capacity list. I may be a politically charged mom, but I think hard on what's important to me, and I ask you to think what's important to you. What's important and what are your core values? Really, this is a heated debate, but it's about the children. It's about the children in Monroe County, fragile children. It's about quality of life. In the 2019 budget summary from the Office of Republican Majority, it states that Monroe County is going to remain focused on serving and protecting the community while delivering essential services. Prove that dedication. Prove your commitment to delivering those essential services. Prove your commitment for quality of life. There are children out there waiting. Children can't wait. I'm asking you for bipartisan support. I'm asking you to approve the proposal to increase preschool special ed rates by 15%, and I'm asking you to continue to call on the state to also increase early intervention rates. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Rita Lewis, Kimberly Dewar, and Jenny Lundberg.
I am here on behalf of the House of Mercy and the Homeless Union. We need you to get behind and support the two bills that are in the state legislature that are up for a vote. And we particularly need our two Republican senators to get behind them and support them. So I'm asking you to also bring the staff, the administration, to meet with the homeless union so that we can address the issues that are facing us. It's very important that you listen to your constituents who are homeless and to the constituents who are children who have special needs. So I think it's a matter of priority. It really is. You know, if we take care of the most vulnerable first, then everything else should fall into place. So we really do have to have the priorities right. So I really hope that you will consider meeting with us and provide the help that we're asking. Thank you.
My name is Kim Zuber. I'm not Jenny Lundberg. She took ill and she asked me to take her place. I run Zuber Farms. It's a farm that's been in business since late 40s. I'm representing Monroe County Farm Bureau tonight. For those of you that came down to our reception earlier, thank you. I got a couple of quick facts to give you on agriculture. I talked to Bob King earlier today, and I got these statistics from him. In 1910, there were 6,000 farms in Monroe County and 385,000 acres. The latest statistics available were in 2012. There were 500 farms left on 100,000 acres. That's kind of stunning in itself, but there's a new thing going on with agriculture. The scene continues to change. Many challenges are facing us. Thin margins, taxes, regulation, and competition. The most recent change is the growing presence of solar energy fields. I'm not going to say that they are good. I'm not going to say they're bad. Just that they are competing for land, a farmer's lifeblood. Solar projects are subsidized. And if that's in the public's best interest, that is fine. But if local food, open fields are important, then a way to support the farmers needs to be found. Perhaps farmland protection funding, updating the farmland protection plans, perhaps tax incentives or just buying local, even if it costs more. The wrong move would be to just legislate that they can't build solar fields. Farmers, it's an economic issue. Farmers have to do what they must to survive. Local farms like Chase's Greenhouse, Colby Homestead, Marty Schutz, John Bolton, Martin Farms, DeMeyer's, the Birches, the list is long, but not as long as it used to be. Supporting cooperative extension and Monroe Community College, Life Sciences, or even the county fair. The county might consider an FFA chapter in Monroe County. The largest FFA in the state is in New York City. So please, when you have a choice to buy local or shipped in, please buy local. Thank you for listening.
Our next three speakers are Kristen Rogers, Andrea Pedisano, and Patrick Broswell.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Rogers. I'm the Advocacy Coordinator with the Children's Agenda. I come before you this evening to thank the County Executive for the 15% across-the-board rate increase she has proposed for preschool special education-related services. I want to urge you, the legislator, to vote yes on this proposal next month. I also want to thank the numerous parents, providers, and advocates who have been ongoing champions for this issue and have made their voices heard. This is a significant first step towards stabilizing critical services for some of the most vulnerable children in our community. Once again, we thank you, and we will continue to advocate with you at the state level to fix the early intervention system as well. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Braswell. I'm president of Rochester Homeless Union, member of New York Steering Committee, representative of Rochester Homeless Union. Seemingly, I recognize that the poor, the homeless, not in the city, only in the city of Rochester, but in our nation, has come together and basically fend for themselves. It's obviously that political leaders will never do anything beneficial for our communities, but yet, we're always put on their campaign agendas. They tell us how their society and how much they're going to help and care for us, how they're going to change their policies, help build and coordinate facilities to assist us, how they will help seemingly the helpless. We've learned now how we're going to help ourselves. We're uniting and we're coming together as a team. We are educating ourselves and studying the elected officials' track record and not listening to just what comes out of their mouth when they're campaigning for election. The poor are the majority. We will get true leaders in office, and we'll see you at the polls. I've been dealing with the homeless for quite some time now. Met with senators, legislative members, did a lot of trips to here and there and basically begged for politicians to help the people that actually need to be helped. Rochester is like one of the 5th impoverished cities in the United States. No jobs. It used to be when it was the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class. Now, it's the upper class, the lower class, and the homeless. We got to do something about this epidemic. Things need to change. We got to come together, each organization. I mean, if we can get together and get thousands of people to protest or campaign, I think we can get a few thousand together to take votes.
Our next three speakers are Tracy Taylor, Grace Miller, and Asa Adams.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tracy Taylor. I have been before you many times this year and last year. I appreciate your attention tonight. I am an occupational therapist with step-by-step developmental services. I am an occupational therapist, a supervisor for the occupational therapists, a social work supervisor, and now I'm a supervisor for ongoing service coordination that we just started this month to help the county with the crisis that's going on with ongoing service coordination. I have been working for 26 years as an OT, and 16 of those years have been here in Monroe County. And I think I've been advocating since I hit the ground here in 2003. Worked closely with Mike Deedy before that, worked at the state, at different conferences, and with the local Early Intervention Coordinating Council as the president and co-chair there. I think this is the first time in 16 years I felt heard and have actually had hope for the future. I wanted to thank the county executive for her proposal. Excuse me, super emotional for me. For the proposed 15% increase for preschool services. I would really encourage all of you to vote yes to that. It's giving our providers hope and a challenge to New York State to also meet the 15%, which I think we really need everybody's support on moving forward. And I think that remembering also that while we have this wonderful proposal in place and that will help at the preschool level, until the state matches that, it's not going to help our local early intervention. And so where we can help with is ongoing service coordination for the county. Just this past week, their primary clerk for early intervention retired, and she's the person that has done all of the coordinating for the early intervention program. She's not there anymore, and now they are scrambling once again. So although the county did put in people to help with the paperwork, they can't help with her position, and so now other people are actually, other service coordinators are now covering that position as well. I think that the other thing I'd like you to consider remembering is that early intervention and preschool services pull from the same pot of providers. So the same people that do early intervention are the exact same people that do preschool services. So there are 195 children that we know are on the wait list for early intervention. There are countless more in the different school districts around the county, and they all pull from one pot of people. And if there's a disparity in one and an increase in another, I think you can get the idea of where more providers are going to want to go and how that can make early intervention even a worse crisis than it already is at. I would just like you to remember that we're all leaders and advocates in what we do. You are obviously leaders representing your different districts, and I know that you take that very seriously. I am a mom to a child with a disability, a sibling that does not have a disability. I work in this field. I advocate for these families. I had to assess a child this week who, after speaking with a mother, sounded like he was having seizures, and I had to refer that family out. And if that child ends up qualifying and needing services, that child's going to go on the wait list because there aren't services to be had. So I would ask that you really consider in the next budget trying to increase ongoing and initial service coordination at the county level, because they are absolutely underwater, not treading anymore. They are just underwater, and they absolutely need your help. We need your help, and the children, more importantly, need your help. Thank you very much.
On January 2nd of this year, the Homeless Union met with Cheryl D'Onofrio's staff to discuss sanctions and how they are affecting our poor and homeless. We're asking that the sanctions be removed. You've heard us say that before. The sanctions in Monroe County are the harshest of all sanctions compared to other counties, including New York City. Cheryl did not attend this meeting. A meeting was rescheduled before the end of January. We didn't finish our business. So we were told we would get a phone call to reschedule that meeting. Time passed. We received no phone calls from the members of the county who were at the meeting. So many of us from the Home Union and House of Mercy called repeatedly to have this meeting. Our phone calls were ignored. No one answered. There were countless phone calls made. To date, we have not had our second meeting. Is this the way you take care of the homeless, the poorest people in Monroe County? It's a known fact that the homeless are the most physical expression of poverty. We're trying to establish a working relationship with you so that our poor and homeless can be helped. But it looks like you're not interested or concerned. You're the body that makes the laws that affect our poor. The fact that you are refusing to meet with the homeless tells us that you don't care about the plight of the homeless. That's the message we're getting. The homeless are the best and only ones who can tell you what they need. And they are more than willing to meet with you. My question is, why are you refusing to meet with the homeless union? Why are you refusing to answer phone calls after a promise that you made? And we say to this Republican-controlled body, how can you live comfortably in your suburban homes, warm beds, a warm house, food in your refrigerator, food on your table, knowing that many of our homeless are out in the streets? And we had a winter that was very cold and still is cold. Do you stop and wonder if our homeless are being taken care of, or are they out on the streets? That's something for you to seriously consider. And when you refuse to meet with the homeless union, what you're telling us is that you don't care. It's a terrible offense to our poor and homeless when the county administrators, who are being paid to help the poor, will not even pick up the phones to answer the calls of the poor. This is sad. Remember, voting day is coming, and we'll be at the polls.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and constituents and legislators. Mr. Norfolk, congratulations on your proposal of the 15%. I do agree with everyone else on that. Hands to you. Job still a long way from being done. So now I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Asa Adams. I am a resident of Pompano Beach, Florida. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing in Rochester, New York, watching this crazy mess that I'm watching here. This don't make no sense, completely. You know, I was out in some of the suburbs and was talking to some of y'all voters. Y'all better be aware of what was happening, because I talked to them, and I talked to some of y'all. You guys want to switch and join that side too. Do it. Because it's going to happen. So the game is over, and I'm sick and tired of playing the game. Mr. Norfolk, you have only one way out of this. And I told it to you the last time when I sat here very angrily. You have to be to your 8-point words, which are mounting out to a lot of people's lives throughout Monroe County. So I don't have to change the voters. They're changing themselves. Some of these guys may not even be back. And the more I'm coming to visit y'all neighborhood, the more I'm going to get to know you, because they're telling me who you really are. But what scares the living hell out of me, if Martin Luther King was alive today, would you think he'd be happy with any, and believe me, I ain't forgot about y'all now, with all of this that's going on in Monroe County? Because this thing starts off with the children. You correct the real problem, you won't have to worry about the homeless problem. And you all know that. You sit up here and you think about it, but you don't do nothing about it. But you know, the worst form of racism is ignoring the children, ignoring the poor, and ignoring the homeless. That is the worst kind of racism that even exists. So racism doesn't have a color. It has a nature, an ugly nature that you guys are constantly feeding. And the worst part about it, some of y'all are living off of it. I guarantee you, to the fellas in the red, to the brothers in the red back there, raise your hands, please. And I'm talking about the retired sheriffs. You made a contract with them years gone by. If you cannot honor a contract with them, we know damn well you can't honor a contract with us. They gave their lives to do this. So right now, what I'm wishing for everyone, I'm talking about all of you guys. Y'all may be on my side, but actually become my comrade. Because being a comrade means you're going to go down fighting together and you die together. As in closing, yes, vote for this 15%, please. But don't forget about the rest. Honor their contract too. But if you can't honor their contract, explain to them why. If you can't help the homeless, explain to them why. Quit running. You only got so far to hide. And I'm going to tell you something. If there's a God above, he's going to judge us for what we don't do, not what we do. And that's what frightens the living hell out of me. As in closing, as I said, peace be with you. Take care of these children first. You'll end up removing homeless. Because if they go down, now they gave a number of a couple hundred. I can guarantee you there's at least 10,000 children within the city limits of Rochester got the same issues these kids got in the county. And it's going to get worse. Please, Cheryl, listen. If you honestly do the right thing, you may get my vote. And then summary? As in summary, you may get some of these guys to come back, but you got to show it. You can't keep running. This is for you.
Our next three speakers are Pia Staffe, Patrick DuPont, and Janet Rosenberg.
Good evening. My name is Pia Stampa, and I'm the owner of Step by Step Developmental Services. We provide early intervention and preschool services in Monroe County. I would like to thank the legislator for their continued support with advocating for better early intervention rates in Albany. For the first time in many years, there seems to be a possibility for a small increase in our rates. While the proposed rate increase does not solve the problem, it's a start. Please continue to help us advocate in Albany. We stand ready to be your partners in ensuring that infants and children in Monroe County get the help they're legally entitled to receive. There are still almost 200 children on the waiting list for early intervention because of the provider shortage created by the low reimbursement rates. Together, we need to continue to advocate for better rates to secure a stable workforce in early intervention. This will not make us competitive in hiring, but it's a start. Today we learned that the Monroe County Executive has proposed a 15% increase in preschool rates. This will help bring Monroe County rates closer to those of neighboring counties. We appreciate this and urge you to vote for this increase so providers can continue to provide services to young children in Monroe County. It takes a village, and I want to believe that we can go forward as a united village for our children. Thank you.
My name is Pat DuPont. I work at St. Joseph's House of Hospitality, where we run a 19-bed homeless shelter. At St. Joe's, we don't receive any funding or referrals from Monroe County's DHS. We seek to provide shelter to whoever shows up at our doors. And consistently this winter, we've had more people showing up than we can safely shelter in our space. It hasn't been uncommon for like 29 or 30 people to show up to our 19-bed shelter on one night. And when that happens, what we do is we call the Monroe County DHS after-hours line to try to secure emergency housing for our overflow somewhere else. And I worked last night, overnight to this morning, and between myself and two of our volunteers, we called the after-hours line almost 10 times between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, and every time we called, The call got sent straight to voicemail, and then we were told that the voicemail box was full and not accepting any new messages, and then the call ended. This is a huge problem because it means that enough people are in need of emergency shelter that they're filling up the hotline's voicemail faster than operators can return calls and make placements, which means that we're then not even really sure how many people are calling this line because once the mailbox is full, people can't get through any other way. We have no idea how many people are requesting emergency shelter. This is a symptom of a city that's in a crisis around homelessness. Shelters and the after-hours hotline are stopgap measures. They're Band-Aid solutions meant to provide immediate relief to people in desperate need, and even these stopgap measures are failing. Even this last, lowest level of the safety net is failing. We need to hire more operators or to add another line where more messages can be left, and we need calls to be returned faster because even when we do get through, it often takes hours to make a placement or just to hear back. And we need to not only focus our energy on reforming systems meant to stop the bleeding, we need to reform systems at a deeper level. But the after-hours line is a surface-level, easy fix, at least to do something about this last resort for people. I want to invite everybody here up front, in the back, everybody here, to come down to St. Joe's at 8 o'clock any night of the week. Come and experience the number of men showing up to our doors. Come and experience the frustrating process of trying to secure them somewhere safe to sleep. Come and interact with some of the most vulnerable members of our community, people that you guys are here to serve, the people who need your service most desperately. We've been coming here for months. It would be great if you guys would come to us. And lastly, I don't know who to talk to about this, but I would totally love to offer the opening prayer at one of these meetings. And it would be a prayer that would be consistent with the Christian tradition that reminds people who are in power that whenever there's an imbalance of power, whenever there's injustice happening, God is always on the side of the poor and powerless and oppressed.
Good evening. My name is Janet Rosenberg. As a physical therapist working in Monroe County, I want to extend a huge thank you for the positive steps you are taking to help address the crisis in the Birth to 5 programs. We greatly appreciate the county executive's proposal to increase preschool rates by 15%. I urge all of you to approve this proposal at next month's meeting. Additionally, I am very grateful that you continue to be our voice in Albany. Please continue to bring our concerns related to early intervention rates and EI reform to Albany. And I'm going to repeat myself, but this is important. Sadly, our capacity waiting list for early intervention continues to grow. These are children who received their EI evaluations, were found to be eligible for ongoing services, and have a legal document called an IFSP, and they're now waiting for services due to a shortage of providers in all disciplines. As you've heard, we currently have 195 children waiting for some type of service. That is an increase of 32% from last month when there were 148 children on the waiting list. This number is up 186% from March of 2018 when we had 68 children on the wait list. Every zip code in the city has a child waiting for some type of service. Also impacted our children in Brockport, Hilton, Churchville, Scottsville, Greece, Spencerport, Gates, Chili, Irondequoit, Brighton, Henrietta, Webster, and Pittsford. Although you have heard this before, tonight it is still worth repeating. This EI wait list is not based on severity of need or diagnosis. Babies with extended NICU stays, babies with complex medical issues, babies discharged home with EI as part of their discharge plan, babies diagnosed with a variety of different syndromes, including Down syndrome or Prader-Willi, children with autism, toddlers with speech delays. They all go on the same wait list. The complexity of their needs continues to grow the longer they have to wait for services. Please keep this in mind with future advocacy efforts at the state level. Again, thank you for listening to the many voices that have come before you over the past several months and for proposed changes with preschool reimbursement rates. We will continue to advocate for change in the EI program. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Jasmine Regler, Heather Hansen, and Allie Dettinger.
Good evening, everyone. So I'd like to mainly address everyone that's in the public forum. As you know, when you call, you were told not to address the legislators directly. So when I called, I asked them what that meant, and they said that we cannot threaten them. So I'm not going to threaten the legislators, but I am going to address them directly because this is the only time that I have your attention. So October 9th, 2018 was the first time that I spoke here. I also was the first one to speak on October 9th. When I spoke, Mike Rockow immediately put his head down in his phone. When I asked him to get off his phone, he signaled to me without looking up that he was listening to me. One of the legislators must have told him to get off the phone because then he did. On November 13th, the next month, 2018, I came again. When it was time for me to speak, I noticed Mr. Rockow left the room. I emailed him later that night asking him why he left, and to my surprise, I did get an immediate response. He said he left the room to speak with residents of his district, which is custom of this body. And he also said it was more respectful for him to wait for me to conclude my remarks before entering the chambers and distracting others. His final remark was, "Thanks again for reaching out to me with your concerns. If I can be of further assistance, please do not hesitate to reach me at," and he provided a number and an email. So I promptly did that. Before I asked any requests, I apologize to Mr. Rockow for making such a quick judgment because I thought that he left the room because of what I did the previous month asking him to get off the phone. So since I had his attention, I decided to ask Mike if we could meet. And I asked him to meet at my work, St. Joseph's House of Hospitality. This was November 14th. I did not get a response from him. So I sent a follow-up email on November 27th, asking Mike, even if he does not want to meet with me, to please just say that. Still, I got no response. So since I cannot contact you through email or phone, I'm asking you today, why did you not respond to me? And as everyone can see, no response. So what I'm telling everyone, when you reach out to the legislators, if you do not get a response, come here and talk about it. Speak about which legislator ignored you. Everything that they are saying to us are fear tactics. They say we only have 2 minutes. They say we can't address them. But if these are the legislators that are representing us and we are not getting a response from them, we need to address them. So don't threaten them, but if you need to address them, then you address them. There is nothing unlawful and there is nothing illegal about addressing your legislators that are making the laws for you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Heather Hansen. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Step by Step Developmental Services. Like many of my colleagues here tonight, I'd like to thank you for your continued support and efforts to address the early intervention and preschool special education crises. Most importantly today, we'd like to thank the County Executive for her proposed 15% rate increase for preschool special education rates. As she stated this morning, there has not been a rate increase in over a decade, and it's time that the legislator take action to remedy that fact. I urge you to vote in favor of this proposed increase next month and to consider ways to further evaluate appropriate rates and regular adjustments to the rates over time. Secondly, thank you for your efforts in Albany, advocating and speaking on behalf of increasing early intervention rates in various forums. The proposed 5% increase to PT, OT, and speech is a start in the right direction, though it is certainly not enough. Please continue to speak in support of further and broader rate increases from Albany for the early intervention program. There are currently 195 children waiting for early intervention therapy services in Monroe County, as you have heard tonight. The need is great, and we must effect change to meet the needs of these children. Please continue to engage with us and discuss the needs and possible solutions across these systems so that we can continue to provide these critical services to the most vulnerable children in Monroe County. I'd like to leave you with this data I recently came across. Early childhood program and services return between $7 and $12 for every dollar invested before the age of 5. The return on investment to our county is huge. Let's continue to work together for the benefit of our county. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Allie Dottinger. I am with the Rochester Homeless Union, and I'm also a volunteer at St. Joseph's House of Hospitality. I was one of the shelter workers that Pat mentioned earlier that tried to call DHS multiple times last night to get emergency shelter placement for our overflow. I think it's very inhumane to try and cram as many people as we can into the shelters just to provide the warm bed, especially knowing that there are other options throughout the county available. So I urge you as legislators to reassess how we staff that line. Only having one person I really don't think is an appropriate steward of that program. I know frequently when I do get a call back, I end up apologizing to the person because I know I'm frustrated. I'm actually fasting from frustration for Lent. It's going fairly well. I won't tell you about yesterday. But with that being said, I don't necessarily think that I should have to apologize for a systematic problem that can be addressed. It is really, really easy to steward more money towards this baseline problem that we have. There's many other individual problems that I'd love to address, but I think it really is important that we provide more support to the after-hours worker so that the mailbox isn't full. You know, and it's kind of funny. It's almost a joke with the guys that come in to shelter. They don't know quite what to do because they don't know if they're going to have a bed. And when I have 19 people that were there the previous night, they get the bed the next night. So when 28, 29, 30, as Pat mentioned, people show up, it's inhumane, this idea that I'm going to turn them away, that I'm going to give them a tent and go tell them to camp out, that I'm going to say, get in my car, I'll take you to the parking garage and hope that you make it. I don't need to tell any one of you my reaction to finding a dead homeless person is not well. And I really don't want to have to get up and do that again because we're not properly providing shelter for people. A final thought I just leave you with, I work for a local church as my full-time job in addition to my work with the Homeless Union in St. Joe's. We just finished a series called Fractured, and I almost think that this legislative body really, really reflects that, and to me it's sad. These are really basic issues. Early intervention, homelessness, providing pensions. These are issues that, to me, are very bipartisan. We're not talking about really complex issues that maybe have different viewpoints. I would love to see this legislative body put aside this and come together to solve these problems. That child that isn't receiving that early intervention is being caught up in a system that is going to oppress them potentially the rest of their child life. Notice these pink shirts that we're all wearing? We've connected with early intervention people, and don't think that we haven't traded some notes as to interactions that we've had with you guys as legislators. And I think I'm very appreciative for the people who have reached out, who have given support, given ideas. I'm thankful for that. I'm continuing to be open to that. In fact, tonight after the legislature meeting, I'm going to stand outside the door. If you'd like my contact, I'd love to give it to you. If you're willing to give me yours and you want to work with us, I would love to do that. So thank you so much for your time.
Our final three speakers are Bridget Hurley, Andrea Pedisano, and Kimberly Dewar.
Good evening. Well, I'm going to start, of course, by adding my voice of gratitude to the county executive and her staff for the increase in preschool special education. I would be happy to challenge the governor to add my voice to your challenge around matching that rate with a 15% increase in early intervention. Just want to make sure that folks know that the governor did include an increase of 5% in certain reimbursement rates in his proposed budget. It only covers some of the services that EI provides, so we certainly want to press him to expand that to all the services. I come with a little bit of news that maybe you know, maybe you don't. One of the other issues with EI is that insurance companies are supposed to pay for many of the services that are provided and regularly reject those claims. And so there's a proposal that has made its way into both the Assembly and the Senate One House budgets that would really help recoup some of those dollars that insurance companies are supposed to pay. It's called Covered Lives. I can't explain why it's called Covered Lives. But I just want to let you all know in your communications with state folks that we should really be behind that, because that would bring some money into the system that is desperately needed. Secondly, I brought copies for you of our look at the governor's proposed budget and then our recommendations for the state budget again, as you're, at cocktail parties or party functions. If you would like to carry some of our concerns to your state colleagues, we would really appreciate that. And the last thing I want to talk about is another issue that is going to be facing the county soon that's originating in the state. As part of the Raise the Age law, the state is making it, is stopping its reimbursement for PINS detention. I don't know if you're familiar with PINS, refers to persons in need of supervision. They're teenagers, they're under 18 years old, with very serious truancy problems or behavior issues that parents are unable to control, and so they become a ward of the state and are put under supervision. Most counties in New York State approach those youth with services. For some reason that I don't know, Monroe County tends to detain PINS youth more than other counties, and that is going to be no longer reimbursable by New York State as of 2020. So I just want to put that out there that we would love to work with you to talk about what services will be appropriate. I'm assuming that the county is not going to want to be paying full price of detention, that you're going to want to come up with some alternatives because the state, again, is stopping their reimbursement on that. So thank you, and look forward to continuing to work on other issues in the future.
Hi, my name is Kim Dewar, and I am a special needs mom and an advocate for early intervention services. First, I'd like to say the county executive is proposing an across-the-board 15% increase for preschool special ed rates. Thank you so much for that, and please vote yes on this measure on April 9th. My daughter will be transitioning to preschool this summer. I'm here to advocate for emergency funding for service coordination and a permanent rate increase for early intervention services. My daughter Vivian's been receiving early intervention since December of 2016. She has 7 different services going right now, and I owe all of her progress and development to her providers that I now consider part of my family. They also saved our family from falling apart. But I talked about that last time. Today I'd like to speak about moral injury. Why are 195 plus kids waiting for early intervention services? It's because these wonderful providers are leaving the profession. Why are they leaving the profession? Moral injury. These people have dedicated their careers, their lives, sacrificed their own families for me, for my daughter, for all of these special needs and vulnerable children. And now they're being forced to participate in things that are so against their values, putting kids on waiting lists, not giving vulnerable children services. These people are resilient, they're passionate, they're resourceful, but they are suffering from moral injury. Just imagine that. Now imagine they're also not getting paid to do the job that they're so good at and that they love. They're leaving. There's not enough services for these kids. Just think about that, please. Emergency funding and a permanent rate increase for early intervention service needs to be proposed and implemented now. We have to be able to recruit and retain providers, these people that are so good at what they do and love what they do, to save kids and to save families. I'll never stop fighting for them, and I'm never going to stop fighting for my kids and all of these people's kids. in Rochester, in Monroe County, in New York State. Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
We will now proceed with consideration. We will now proceed with the consideration of motions, resolution, and notices. Will the clerk read the next item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 19-0032.
Moved by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 2, referral 19-0033.
Moved by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 3, referral 19-0034.
Moved by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 4, referral 19-0035.
Moved by Legislator Boyce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 5, referral number 19-0036.
Moved by Legislator Boyce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 6, referral 19-0037.
Moved by Legislator Boyce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 7, referral 19-0038.
Moved by Legislator Boyce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 8, referral 19-0039.
Moved by Legislator Boyce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 9, referral 19-0040.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 10, referral 19-0041.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 11, referral 19-0041.br.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 12, referral 19-0042.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 13, referral 19-0043.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 14, referral 19-0044.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 15, referral 19-0045.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 16, referral 19-0045.br.
Moved by Legislator Bruce, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 17, referral 19-0046.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 18, referral 19-0047.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Okay, seconded by legislator Boyce. This is to adopt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 19, referral 19-0048.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 20, referral 19-0049.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 21, referral 19-0049.BR.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 22, referral 19-0050.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 23, referral 19-0051.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 24, referral 19-0052.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 25, referral 19-0053.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 26, referral 19-0054.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 27, referral 19-0055.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 28, referral 19-0057.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Conley. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the administration, I have a question regarding the number of parcels currently on the list. I know the number goes down over time. What is the current number of parcels on this list?
Mr. President, the current number of parcels is 1,093.
1,093. And through the President to the administration, is that from the original list that was presented to this body, how many parcels were taken off the list in that time span, approximately?
Mr. President, 263.
Thank you. And finally, through the President to the administration, do you have any other properties that are currently you would consider are under active negotiations?
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you. Finally, I should say that one more time. My apologies. Approximately how many would you estimate that to be? I realize it's a guesstimate. Through the President.
Mr. President, I'll extend my guesstimate till for the next 6 months until the auction is held at some date in September. I would reasonably expect another 600 parcels to be removed from the list.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 29, referral 19-0058.
Move it, Mr. President.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Conley. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 30, referral 19-0058.BR.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Conley. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 31, referral 19-0059.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Conley. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 32, referral 19-0060.
Moved by legislator Bruce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 33, referral 19-0060.BR.
Moved by legislator Bruce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 34, referral 19-0062.
Moved by legislator Boyce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 35, referral 19-0063.
Moved by legislator Turp, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 36, referral 19-0064.
Moved by legislator Elkoffer, seconded by legislator Brew. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Moyo.
Thank you, Mr. President. The two individuals, through you, Mr. President, the two individuals who are being reappointed, did they serve a full term at the Water Authority Board?
Yes, they did. Their term expires April 1st. I was made aware of the upcoming term expirations for the board recently. Spoke with each of them and wanted to reappoint before April 1st to ensure the continuation of operations for the board.
Thank you, Mr. President. How long is each term that these individuals served?
Their term will expire in April 2024.
So it's a 5-year term, Mr. President?
Yes.
So we had a 5-year leeway to know whether they were going to have a term expire and have 2 potential vacancies at the Water Authority. Is that correct, Mr. President?
Could you repeat that question?
We had a 5-year leeway to know that there were going to be 2 vacancies come April 1st of this year.
Yes.
But this is a matter of urgency, Mr. President?
I thought so.
And we weren't given their resumes or any points of interest regarding their past history or what committees they're on?
Presidential appointments do not go before committees. I deemed it a matter of urgency for the continuation of the board, and I put their names in.
Thank you, Mr. President. But not even in the matter of urgency was a resume submitted. Is that true, or did I miss it?
I reviewed their resumes. Did you want to review their resumes?
Yes, I would. And, Mr. President, I've asked for that in the past.
Did you ask me for the resumes?
This is a continuous body, Mr. President, so I have asked the President for resumes in the past, yes.
Well, if I would have got that message, I would have let you see the resumes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
No. Roll call vote.
Mr. Marionetti?
Yes.
Ms. Cayley?
No.
Mr. Alcoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Ansello?
Yes.
Mr. Broth?
No.
Ms. Boyce? Mr. Brew?
Yes.
Mrs. Conley?
Yes.
Mr. Delahanty?
Yes.
Mrs. DeFlorio?
Yes.
Mrs. Draw?
Yes.
Mr. Felder?
No.
Mr. Flagler Mitchell?
No.
Ms. Harris?
No.
Mr. Hebert is excused. Mr. Howland?
Yes.
Mr. Lightfoot?
No.
Mr. Mafucci?
No.
Mr. Michike?
No.
Mr. Morelli?
No.
Mr. Moyo?
No.
Mr. Rockow?
Yes.
Mr. Shepard?
No.
Ms. Taylor is excused. Mr. Turp?
Yes.
Mr. Wilcox?
No.
Mr. Wilt?
Yes.
Mr. Zale?
Yes.
President Carbone?
Yes.
15 to 12, motion carries. Item number 37, referral 19-0065.
Move it, Mr. President. Second. Moved by legislator Bruce, second by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the administration, are the terms of this contract different in any way from the terms of last year's contract? Thank you. And through the President of the administration, if the terms are not different and we expected to be doing this contract again as we did last year, why is this a matter of urgency this year?
Through the President, we were waiting for information from the city about the rates.
Thank you. Through the President of the administration, what information were you waiting for, and when did you receive that information?
The information through the President was for the wages and fringe benefits to make sure it wouldn't change during the year, and we received it within the last month.
So if I understand this correctly, through the President, you were concerned that the wages and paid to the city officers would have changed since last year. Is that correct, through the President?
Through the President, yes, and for the future year.
So through the President of the administration, then it's fair to expect that this particular contract will always be introduced to this legislative body as a matter of urgency?
Through the President, it would depend on when we hear from the city in response to our questions about those.
Of course. Well, through the President of the administration, well, actually, I'll just make a statement. I'm, of course, going to vote for this contract. I think it's a worthwhile thing to do. It's for, the common good, and frankly, it's a matter of intergovernmental collaboration. I just find this reliance upon matters of urgency to be disappointing. Particularly in this case, I don't think it's necessary. I really think it's not too challenging to expect that one office could call another office and say, we need to get this into the cycle so the legislative body can be shown the proper respect so it can review this contract as it should be reviewing it in a committee meeting, not in the full legislative body. That being said, I will support this contract because, well, heck, I've supported it for the number of years. I will continue supporting it. But the process itself, I think, is flawed, and I think it needs to be pointed out. Thank you.
Any further discussion? We need to go to a roll call vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. There being no unfinished business, Legislator Marionetti.